welcome to a new episode of the Real Estate Majlis podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're having the stars of UAE Million Dollar Listing.
Wow.
Mr. Ben and Mr. Riyad. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you for having us today.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you guys.
We're very excited as well.
Let's start straight in, Riyad. Tell us a little bit about your real estate journey, and then obviously the same question we extend to Ben. And how did you end up at such a prominent TV show?
Well, I've been here almost 20 years. Started as a pharmacist, and then got the opportunity to explore the real estate market through Abu Dhabi at the time. And it was booming. It was excellent. So I decided to step out and join
I didn't know that.
join the real estate world. It was very exciting times, and met Ben during that time. So yeah, you're not the only veteran, by the way.
2000, I think 2006.
Yeah, around 2006. Right. Yeah, and actually when he called me, I was like, wow, there's a nice broker out there, because really, yeah, he was.
Thank you.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I passed 10 years later, Ben was working on bringing the show to the UAE, and I met him and he was talking about it. And then a couple of years later, again, I met him and he was already having a deck. And then he's like, Riyad, you need to leave what you're doing, because I was doing in an interval developer after brokerage for a while as just a project base. And then he said, hey, go ahead and start going back to brokerage, close big deals, and there will be announcement soon. And I got a call from Million Dollar Listing. There will be casting, there will be a cast, there will be qualifications, and I think it was almost 2 years of qualifications, and it was gruesome interviews, and then here we go. Here we are now.
Right, and just for the record, I had no idea that he would be cast. I didn't even think he would make the top 8. So,
Thank you so much. That's very.
But because of his
very encouraging.
His past experience and being an actor, right, when you were younger.
I did some acting when I was young.
I think he fit the perfect profile.
It's amazing to see Riyad from a pharmacist to real estate. And this is something actually I get a lot of questions from people. We are bankers, we are interior designers, we want to move to real estate. So amazing to see different backgrounds. So the question that Cecilia asked you, how did it start?
The year was 2002, and I was in Canada. I was a university dropout, and I didn't know what was happening in my life. I had no direction, and so I had a mentor and a family friend, and I told him, "Look, I need some guidance." And he said, "Come and work for me. I see the potential in you. You're smart, you're intelligent, and if you stick with me, you're going to be a millionaire." So I was young. I was 25 years old, 23 years old at the time. And I had a lot of hope. And so I decided to work for this gentleman. After a year of working with him in Vancouver, Canada, he said, "I want you to come to Dubai." I said, "Where's Dubai?" And he said, "It's somewhere in the Middle East, and it's the next happening place." And so I said, "Okay, let's do it. I've got nothing to lose." So I came here in 2002. The freehold had just started in Dubai. And I never looked back. I mean, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I was here right from the beginning. There was not even one ready property in all of Dubai. I was selling off paper. A lot of people were saying this will never be built. It's a scam. And there were a lot of objections at that time. And I remember driving back and forth on Sheikh Zayed Road. The roads were completely different. It was less busy. Much less busy. There was no fence in the middle, so people were running back and forth. It was a completely different city, but good times. I mean, and so that's how I started my real estate career. I don't know anything else but real estate. In 2009, when the crisis happened, I did my MBA because I just there was something missing in my life. And so I did my MBA in DIFC, which I'm quite proud of. Million Dollar Listing, I'm a big fan. I watched the show for decades, and I just thought, why is this show not here? We have some of the best agents in the world,
Like
Riad, myself. This show is a perfect fit for the UAE. So I went after it. It was 4 or 5 years of just rejection after rejection. I was calling everyone you can think of. And I kept hitting brick walls. And then I thought, you know what? Let's try Abu Dhabi, the capital, right? So it was one phone call to His Excellency. and it was an elevator pitch. I told them, look, it's a 2-time Emmy nominated show. It's in 140 countries worldwide. It's the #1 real estate show in the world. And he said, I'm in. Tell me more. What do you need? I said, I need everything. I'm just a real estate broker, and I've got a great idea. He's like, and he started laughing, and he's like, you know what? I'll get my team to call you. And I met his team, amazing team, and here we are.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he had to go through through casting as well, qualification as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, we would call each other and be like, do you think we're going to go to the next step?
Well, the thing is, I thought when I brought the show, I thought it's a for sure given that I'm going to be a cast member. And the first thing they told me is, you know what, you're going to be executive producer. You are an executive producer. However, there's no guarantee that you're going to be on the show. And I said, what?
Maybe you're not good on camera.
Yeah, they said you may not be good on camera. No, they said it's completely up to the broadcaster.
Yeah.
And I literally for a year, I was like, just, you know, it was just in the back of my mind. And I was like, oh my God, what if I'm not on the show? I brought the show.
And I'm not in the show.
And I'm not on the show. I'm going to have to
That would have
sit
been epic,
and watch
right?
everyone else, right?
Yeah.
All the hard work that I put into it. Now I'm going to have to watch other people. I'm like, if I'm not on the show, I'll just move back to Canada and just self-exile myself.
Go on the rock and hide.
And that's my story.
When we watch the show, we see blings, we see watches, we see suits, luxury cars.
Supercars, yeah.
And you know what? You made everyone thinking of quitting their jobs and moving to the real estate industry. A lot of people ask me, is it the right job to be in? Is it the right time to move to the real estate industry? So the question, like any other job, this job has challenges and has also misconceptions. What do you think from your side as a real estate leader, an agent? Right. What are these challenges and misconceptions?
So look, when you watch the show, it looks very easy because you just see the whole meeting the clients, showing them the property and closing the deal. And the commissions are high as well. Mm-hmm. It's very rewarding at the end of the day. But to be honest, there's a lot of hard work and this job is stressful. It's extremely stressful. You get a lot of rejection. You get a lot of time wasters. You get buyers who are looking with like 10, 15, 20 other agents. You have sellers who are entertaining pretty much the entire market and they just want to sell their properties. So they're dealing with a bunch of agents as well. So these are some of the objections that you have to basically get over. I mean, it is very rewarding, but there's a lot of hard work that needs to be put into it. A lot of consistency, a lot of persistence, a lot of hard work, sleepless nights. Yeah, it's not easy.
But if the time goes back, will you still choose to be a real estate agent or no?
Oh, I love my job. I'm very passionate about it. And I think this is why one of the reasons that I'm successful. You have to love what you do at the end of the day.
And do what you love.
And do what you love. I like that.
And I think it's actually worth mentioning on the show that it's not staged, you know, the transactions, negotiations, they are live. And a lot of people think that it is, but it's not. And it was very stressful, you know. I was lucky to be part of the behind the scenes a little bit.
The punches that were thrown.
And it's true. Everything that you watch is true in terms of the negotiation. Which leads me to another point, Riad. You know, there's a lot of you guys tend to position yourself in the luxury side of the market, which is very appealing, right? So what would you say to aspiring real estate brokers in terms of, you know, I want to get into the business, but I want to set myself on the luxury side. What does it take?
Well, I mean, to sell a car, you know, a small car or a luxury car, it takes the same effort, takes the same way of thinking and the same way of promoting and marketing, but in a different, obviously, segmenting the market and so on. So I guess you have to do the first step first, get and learn a lot and understand a lot. You know, you have to educate yourself a lot about the history of all the transactions that took place before
the comms,
and the current present market and what the future is entailing. And you understand the future by being a bit of an economist. You know, if you're selling properties worth that money, you need to know finance a little bit. So you need to, you know, enrich yourself with a lot of tools in order for you to go to the next level. I mean, we started by selling an apartment, and then we started selling, you know, a villa, and then we specialized. We created specialization. We were a community specialist. From a community specialist, we became more advanced that we can get into another community. We can tailor to another area. there's something I call the pet agent. So I'm a pet agent to Ben if he wants to buy in a community that I specialize in, and vice versa. So you need to enrich yourself as well with a lot of brokers around you that you can trust, and that you know that they will not do also some unethical business, because a lot of people, they step into the market, they step into the luxury market, and they start asking for what do they call it, top-ups, or what is it?
Right. Top-ups.
Yeah. So, and there are stuff that in the business that will not get you far. Also, don't follow trends that, like everybody's following now, social dancing, they're on TikToks and so on. And they follow trends, and they think this is how someone who's got 100 million dirham property will respect you enough to give you his property because you're dancing on, it's not going to work this way. So it's all about education. It's all about understanding that you can't, run before you walk. And you gotta really know how to walk very well. So a lot of education needs to be there. That creates trust. And with knowledge, you're confident, and with ignorance, there's a lot of fear. And when you transcribe fear during the, even the process of doing a transaction, how don't you know from A to Z how the transaction works? The client needs to know this. The financial, how the lenders work. All these stuff, people need to educate themselves so well in them. And most of the time, they depend on their company or a conveyancing team or so on to do all the work. But even though, you need to learn, you need to know everything by heart. So you need to read a lot. You need to have articles. You need to follow people that are in the business, that are leaders in the business, and so on.
Yeah. So to add on to what Riad said, I would just find a good mentor and just shadow them and learn from them, and ask a lot of questions as well.
True.
Even if it means working for free or on a lower commission.
Yeah. And this type of work is actually, you mentioned that it's a bit hard. I mean, every business is hard. I mean, when I was doing pharma, I was carrying a bag and knocking on doctors and trying to sell them a medicine that they would know more about medicine. I mean, yes, I studied medicine, but they know more because they practice this every day. And it was so tough. And at the end, you would be making this amount of money and a bonus at the end of the year. In such environment, especially in the UAE, it has offered a platform where you can make millions. When I quit my job back when I was 27, I went to my director, the director of my director, who was, making very well. And I was like, oh, this is what I make in a month. He said, that's what I will make in a year plus my bonus.
This is the director, huh?
Yeah, that's the director, huh? Like 20 years older than me at least.
So amazing. So actually, this is interesting. And you mentioned also a point on the top-up and kickbacks and some unethical practices that we see in the market, and hopefully we see an end to that. The question to Mr. Ben, question on luxury market again, to continue on what Cecilia asked. What are the factors that led to the growth of luxury market here in the UAE? And I mean, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and recently we've seen Ras Al Khaimah as well, are becoming a hot spot in that.
Right.
So what are the factors? What made us special on that map?
So I think, look, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and UAE for that matter, they offer, first and foremost, safety, right? I think the entire world, especially Europe, we're seeing, are pretty much just coming to the market, buying real estate, moving and setting up businesses here because it's just simply, it's safe for themselves and their families. In the US, I see a lot of family and friends bringing their families here because of, I don't know if I can mention this, but because of the certain cultural reforms within the US, certain practices being practiced and publicized that are forbidden over here, right? I mean, the lifestyle which the UAE has to offer as well. I mean, the servicing, the safety, the cost of living as well. I mean, if you look at the property prices over here compared to some of the major cities worldwide, it's fairly affordable. I mean, when you compare it, it's very affordable. So it's not just one or two factors. I think it's many factors together that make the UAE, I think, pretty much the best place on the planet to live.
Well, we've seen some amazing numbers in terms of transactions, and highest sold penthouse here and there, and some numbers never seen before. Do you think developers and brokers are able to cater that aspect of the luxury side? Because as you said, there are people going on TikTok and doing dances and people, calling themselves I feel the word luxury is now overrated. Everybody says the project's luxurious, the project is one of the kind. But are we actually catering the high net worth individuals? Are we actually able to attract into the right projects the people who are really looking to the luxury side of the market?
Well, I think if you see the numbers, and I go back to that question, but if you see the numbers before 2020, we were hitting 4 billion transactions. I'm talking just in Dubai, around monthly transaction were around averaging 4 billion. And after COVID, started reaching 15 billion. And then now we're always between 35 to 45 billion dirhams per month. That's a lot of transactions. Now,
but that's overall, right? It's not just the high end.
Yeah, but that's in Dubai. Yes, exactly. But if you see, there's the big chunk of the luxury is in that. And what happened is that there's a lot of delivery of projects that took place that were stories. So there's a lot of developers in Dubai that they're very clever in creating stories. And I love the stories. So if you take a story, one of the stories that I'm fond of recently is the culture district in Abu Dhabi. Where in the world where you have 5 or 6 major museums around the world, like major museums. I mean, talking about, names that are not just,
the Guggenheim, the Louvre.
The Guggenheim, the Louvre, the Natural History Museum, the Sheikh Zayed Museum, the Abrahamic family. I mean, I'm fond of this project. And then you have on an island where the beach and the water, I mean, it's crystal blue water. The sand is just white sand. So everything is, so that's again, a great story. So complemented by a developer and a contractor that knows how to build with a track record, you see there is a good sign over here. If you're talking about Ras Al Khaimah, there is casinos build economies. Yep. They do. And there you've got big brands coming in, again, by major developers with track record. So of course there's the other side of the coin where people talk about luxury a lot and they don't deliver luxury, but then there is no continuity. And there's a very competitive market. If you're not going to really put, not only to put the effort, but delivered on the promises, you're not going to go to the next, development, or you're just gonna cater yourself with the brokers that are aspiring to go to luxury, so they will just follow the developers that are unable to sell, versus the other way around. So no, I think the Dubai and Abu Dhabi and the UAE are leading the world right now, and I mean it, leading the world. I've seen projects. I mean, I've seen countries now. They are talking. They want to adapt the same real estate of the UAE
methodology. Yeah.
Great. So again, on the luxury side, and you mentioned Riyadh, a couple of projects in Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah. So if I go to Ben and talk about what are the examples of iconic buildings or luxury real estate projects here in the UAE, and if there is any, I don't want to say caution, but if there is any focus should come from the investor before they buy into such branded residence and luxury, that they should be aware of in terms of the brand, in terms of what is the impact of the brand on their investment over time, what's the impact on the cost of investing, maintenance, all this process.
Yeah, so
that's lots of questions.
Yeah,
it's a little lost, but look, like Riyad said, I mean, right now, I think the UAE and Dubai in particular is, they have launched, or they have the most branded residences in the entire world. And I think Miami is number 2. And I'm just seeing, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry is pretty much launching a branded residence. We had Mercedes just the other day launch. We've got Bugatti, Missoni. I mean, I see Elisab pretty much popping up everywhere in every single country. So I mean, it's brand and I mean, but
Nobu, yeah, Nobu's
well, Nobu, yeah. I would say, look, branded residence is great, but for an investor, when investing in real estate, you should look at the developer's track record, who the developer is, what they've done in the past, whether they have completed projects, right? This is the most important thing.
And not the brand itself.
And not the brand itself, because anyone can go and pay and slap on a brand on their building, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, brand is great. Everyone loves brand, right?
Yeah, but I think people, they miss the point when it comes to brand residence, right? Because you have today service apartments.
Yeah.
You have branded residence. Some of them have a hotel aspect to it. But I think it's about the fine print on the contract, right? Sometimes you're buying to a brand that is simply the use of the name, and you don't get any service associated or any quality associated with that. Sometimes on the SPA, you will stipulate that the brand is also locked for just a certain number of years. It's not forever. So you might want to sell your property in 5 years. Maybe that brand won't be there. So you have to be very
And it
clear.
happened, actually.
It has happened.
Right.
So you have to be very cautious when you get into any association with other names and how that could impact your long-term investment as well.
Right.
And on the legal side, I just want to share also a couple of two advices. The first one is that once it becomes a branded residence, it may become a hotel apartment.
Yeah.
And that means that there is a 5% VAT. That's
Yes.
something a lot of investors don't see. And also in terms of the regulation here in Dubai, if you have a hotel apartments, then you are not allowed to rent it short term.
Yes.
100%.
So
Yes.
that 2 points are important before buying into a hotel apartment project.
Yes.
That
Yes.
we look at them.
Not only hotel apartments. So I was managing a global brand for a while here for 3 years. And so branded residents do, by the way, there's a core statistics or analysis that they've done over the past 5 years. And every year it's consistent between 30 to 35% more in value, as an increase in gross and value than standard residents. However, even residential units that are in the same building in a hotel. So not only like, okay, like if it's a separate building, yes, the laws regulation allows you to do holiday home. But if it's the residential in the same building of the hotel and it's a branded residence, but even though it's a residential, you still cannot do if the developer makes you sign a contract and it's by the law.
Exactly. So the SPA itself is important. The tourism department, they tell you any residential unit here can be a holiday homes unless it's written in the SPA.
Exactly.
That it's not allowed. So, and that's why we always tell investors, look at your SPA.
Yes.
That's an important thing.
You know, a lot of brokers, they were promising the buyers that were buying with us that, yes, of course you can put it on a holiday home.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they bought based on these promises. And these promises caused them, the investors to really get sour taste with the brokers.
The developer doesn't want the investors to compete with their hotel.
Of course.
At the end of the day.
And even some people bought it to stay in it. And they found, no, actually you cannot stay. This has to come part of a pool.
A part of a pool and so
So
on as
all
well.
these issues are important when it comes to a luxury branded residence.
Yeah.
So I want to bring the conversation to the name issue that brokers have in the market. So there's a lot of research when people ask, do you like real estate brokers? And sometimes people don't, you know, they feel they earn too much. They feel they don't do justice for the job. So why do you think that brokers have a name issue in the market over the last past, especially here?
I think both of us should answer this question,
Yeah.
if I may.
Right.
Especially Ben.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So I'll be quick with this. I'd say, in my point of view, I think there should be a more vigorous and stronger acceptance or licensing to brokers. You can't treat or cure or problems, but you can, of course, but you can't. You better prevent them. So if I would take the analogy of a hospital will not hire a doctor who's not really qualified or licensed, right? So here the license is really strong, is really good, but it takes up to a year in other countries to actually allow them to work. So the course is amazing and the license is amazing, but it is so easy to pass. So I think it should be harder ways of passing because that means that they really invest. Because like you said, Mr. Mahmoud,
I agree
everybody wants to be in the business. Everybody sees the money and everyone wants to be in the business. So if you allow everybody to be in the business, that's where chaos will happen, because it's a 3 days course, which is a really good course, by the way. I've done the course in Canada and this is way better. But it's fast, it's easy to pass. So I think this is the first step. The reputation will always be there because people are doing, like we said, top-ups or kickbacks or so on. And it's also because some brokers are not strong enough and confident enough to say no to a client. It's also the other way around. Some buyers or sellers, they have issues as well they want to do stuff that should not be done. And the confidence in the broker, because he wants the business, is not there, so he allows things as well. So it's both sides, but I think we can control about what we control on us. Real estate companies as well. I'll tell you, in the medical field, there's something called CME. So the government gives every year a certified for a hospital or a clinic by making sure that their doctors give every week a training. So in our company, for example, we do training every week. He does the same thing. So if as well the government would impose some sort of it's an idea, okay? No, don't shoot me. But if the government would impose on brokerage companies that they should issue some sort of every month a certificate that they have trained their people, that they have trained their, and maybe a program or something, that also could. So it's all about education. If you want to eliminate the wrongdoings or the bad behavior or the wrong habits and so on, it's all about education.
So strong regulations.
Absolutely. It's
Better
harder ways to pass
education.
exams.
Do you think that's going to be enough, Ben, to
I think
to improve the name that brokers have in the market?
So I agree with Riad 100%. He took the words right out of my mouth. But I think we should ask Dr. Mahmoud the question, actually.
Yes, exactly. The question should be
what is being done? Because
what would you change? I think what would you add?
The
I think
entry
that's
of
a good
barrier
point,
is very easy, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy to become a real estate broker.
Just to be frank, on the positive side, having so many brokers, that was great in attracting and selling the UAE and marketing the UAE. And the UAE always believes in a free market, and we should not make it difficult for entry to the market as businesses. However, on the individual level, professionalism from day one has been on the top agenda, and we are actually the first country to start professional training.
Yes.
In 2006 and 7,
Correct,
we trained almost 70,000 real estate agents in the country. Recently, with the COVID thing, the government wanted to ease things, and they kind of canceled even the training course to make the entry easier in the market. There are a lot of new brokers who came from all over the world. Maybe they lack knowledge, they lack certain things that requires training, I agree. But I think a lot of issues come not from ignorance, come from ethics.
Right.
A lot of people, brokers, they know that what they're doing is wrong,
Yes.
but they're still doing it. And that question of ethics. And I don't think it's easy, but what the government is doing, and we have a very strong team working on inspection, looking at advertisement in the portals, looking on social media, because nowadays everything is social media and digital. And again, working with with the different private sector companies is the best way, I think. Partnering with them, making sure they get the right people. And there is also a hotline to report any wrongdoings in the market. But at the same time, as much as we train brokers, we need to train investors, because we see a lot of investors who go into deals, they don't understand anything, and then they come and complain about the broker.
Good.
Yes.
Good point. Because last night I was at a gathering and I was sitting with a gentleman, and he said, "Oh, you're in the real estate business. Tell me, what do I need to do to make these agents stop calling me?"
That was going to be my
Cold
next
calling.
point.
It's easier.
And
You know what is it? Just go to RVS,
right.
Real Estate Valuation System in Land Department.
Okay.
Report that number,
Right.
and they will get warning, and then followed by 50,000 dirham. But if everyone does it, then this guy will not call again.
That's exactly what I told him. I mean, I know that, but a lot of the investors in the market, they don't know that.
Yeah.
So
Look, calling is an important part of the job. I understand that, I mean, if you are, looking for properties and there, access to leads and past database. But the problem is it became
Annoying.
out of control, especially now with the WhatsApp and SMS and calls. And this is now past the interest and is disturbing people to a level that is unprecedented. So obviously, all the points are very valid. But would there be anything else, would you think, could add to improve the situation in the market in terms of the broker's reputation?
Training.
Education, training.
Training.
Very important.
Yeah, training. A company needs to train their people. They fire. The turnover of any company is so fast. So I'll hire someone, and then all of a sudden they fire him in 2 months. Well, you have to train him. You have to invest in the person so that he can invest back to the company and to you and to themselves.
Yeah.
With tech, there's a lot of platforms now that allow people to connect buyers and sellers directly, and landlords and tenants, and ditch the broker, ditch the commission. Why do you think that's not the right way? Why should people employ a real estate broker?
Well, you can't remove the emotion part out of an emotional purchase. Buying a home is the most sacred thing to a family or to even an investor. It is the most sacred thing in any person. From the start when we were kids to the grown up. My grandfather used to tell me that God will not create more land, invest in properties. So it's a very emotional part. If you remove the emotional aspect, it won't be there. Also, history doesn't come with, history can be in numbers, but it will be very cold. If you don't apply why this sold for that price and why this doesn't, and what happened here, and then we see buyers every single day and sellers every single day. We see a lot. It's like a doctor who sees a lot of patients, he becomes very good doctor. We see a lot of clients, and I refer to doctors a lot, right? Maybe I go back.
We're real estate
Pharmacists talking.
real estate doctors.
Real estate doctors.
I should have a new Instagram page.
We should have a podcast, the real estate doctors.
The real estate doctors.
So really, it's all about knowing so much that then you can give that history and that experience to the client, and then enjoy it, and then the client remembers this. So that memory and that enjoying part and the journey that a client comes, it won't go on digital. Digital is great to bring in, and these platforms helped us a lot as brokers to know facts, and we can present these facts. So it's a supporting tool, but it cannot be the whole thing.
I don't disagree with you, but I think there's something I look when I look at the future and how AI and technology is transforming. I think it's always going to get down to value. Unless you create value to someone, then because the comms are there. Today I can go online, I can check what was the latest transactions in any of the projects, especially in Dubai. I can see what the price that was sold. I can list the property. I know accordingly. Of course, sometimes sellers are emotional. They want a higher price than what the market is transacting. But if you get down to reality, you can actually see and make the deal without emotions. But I get your point. It's valid.
I have a question. Would you like to watch Million Dollar Listing with real people or with AIs?
It depends.
Different.
Depends who are the real people.
Also, right. You mentioned emotions. People buy real estate based on emotions as well, right? Yeah. And Riad mentioned human factor, right? People, when they go shopping at the mall, they want to go shopping with a friend, right? Because it's fun.
Yes.
Right. And I think it's the same when it comes to real estate as well. You wanna hear what your broker or your real estate agent has to say.
You want to bounce back that the decision you're making is the right one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the technology is giving a lot of transparency.
It will help 100%. It will
buyers, they go and they know what are the prices, what are the range, what are the features. So 90% of the work is already done. And what they need from you as an agent is the last 10% to decide and go ahead.
Exactly.
So I think remember when you used to travel a long time ago, travel agents were there, right?
Yes,
they book for you the flight, they book for you the hotel, and now we don't hear about them.
Yes.
I think over time, only the great brokers will continue and stay, and technology will definitely disrupt a lot of buying, especially now, from technology, you can see buying behavior, who's buying what they're looking for, and so on. So much insight and so much intelligence.
Right.
It's
all data driven. They say data is the new oil.
Ben, if you're a first-time buyer,
yes.
What would you consider? What is important to consider? I'll extend a little bit this, when we started a podcast and, me and Mahmoud were having a debate about should you buy, should you rent? And we all said, no, we should always buy. But obviously there is the affordability aspect of buying. Some people, they get a salary of 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000. So if you are interested to buy, but obviously you are at the entry level in terms of income, what is the minimum you think somebody should have to be able to get a mortgage, or if there's any tips as a first-time buyer you think they should consider?
I have a very short answer for all the buyers out there. Find yourself a really good real estate broker.
Okay.
That's it. Right?
And
You can call me.
call me.
Right?
And
And I mean, everyone has a different criteria, right? Someone's looking for a 2 million property, someone's looking for a 20 million property. I've been very fortunate the last couple of years. I haven't dealt with any mortgage buyers. There's been a rush of cash buyers within the market. I think the statistics are 80-20, right? A lot of cash is coming to the UAE.
that's true. Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, find yourself a good broker and they'll be able to advise you. And the broker obviously asks all the right questions, qualifies the buyer, and can advise the investors or the buyers depending on what they're looking for and their needs.
What about you, Riad?
So, I mean, so I would say there's one part of your question where you're asking it's rent or buy, or, I mean, if you want to grow your wealth, you got to invest, and you got to invest somewhere. The platform in the UAE, if you want to understand it, you got to understand the concept of real estate from a financial perspective. Then you will understand it's how to invest, because everybody's making money in real estate over here, but some people are more fortunate than the other. So if you understand the concept of lead by supply, which is the concept, the whole concept of the UAE basically. It's a vision, it's a great vision where we're gonna build today in any sector, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's hotels, hospitals, whether tourism and so on. We're gonna build today and bring people tomorrow. And that is the concept. So when you understand that there is that creates volatility. So it creates an uptrend and downtrend as well. But it also brings in a lot of cash, like Ben mentioned, because there is a lot of pipeline. There is a lot of projects to invest in. So all the funds from all around the world, they come and invest over here. Now, because the dirham and the dollars are pegged, so there is no fluctuation. So when there is any issue, there's enough money to inject in the central bank, thus creating stability and no burden and so on. So you don't have devaluation. So when you see that curve, there's always a down curve. That's when the oversupply comes. And that oversupply, by the way, a lot of people are talking about supply right now. It's not coming before 2026. And by that time, there was injection, a lot of flow of people coming in, population coming in, a millionaire population coming in as well. So when you look at the curve, there's always going to be a down curve, and that is the time where you enter. And then obviously you cannot choose where is the bottom and the top, but there is that curve. Now, these days I tell to investors if they want to buy, let's say, a home that is, let's say, a villa, and the villa used to be for, let's say, 7 million, now it's for 14 million. And he can't afford it, but he's going to pressure himself too much to do it. I'd say, okay, rent your investment and rent your lifestyle and buy your investment. So buy smaller units, 1 million, 2 million, spread it around. And then when it hits really good, then go and buy the value of a house that you want. So don't pressure yourself too much. Mortgages are great, but the cost of borrowing is high. So mortgages, you enter 15,000 dirhams, I guess you can get a mortgage. If your salary is 12 to 15,000, you can start. But it is, cost of borrowing right now is expensive. So go on an off-plan project, payment plan, and keep renting your lifestyle. And that's what Ben said. If you have the right broker, he will be able to advise you. And this text can help you as much as possible, but won't give you these insights and 2 cents. Right?
But always invest with the right developer. Because
Absolutely.
I think at the end of the day, there's so many off-plan projects, and it goes back to how trustworthy this developer is. And as we always tell investors, only pay in the escrow account. We still have investors who get some incentives, and some developers telling them pay outside the escrow, will give you certain discounts. So all such things should not happen. And if I am an investor, for the first time, I will go and do my research and see, does this developer has a history of success record? Are they delivering on time? How many projects they have right now? Are they overstretched? Because I see a lot of developers launching and over launching, especially the small ones. So are they capable of continuing and delivering on time or no?
Right.
And they always, and this is my question to both of you.
So if you find a good broker, then the good broker can advise you on who the good developers are.
But if you don't find a good broker and you don't do your homework, then what's the the results. And that's why I always say investors should do homework.
Yes, true. 100%.
And then find the good broker, because it's easy to find a good broker. And you go to social media now and everything is there. And the rating of every developer, broker, even building side. Buy in this building, don't buy in that building. This is a good management company. This is not a good management company. So much data and information. So,
you know what I would like to see though? I think developers are quite aggressive with their payment plans. And some of developers now ask 90% before handover and 10% at the end, where I think a lot of people will be super interested to enter the market, but they just feel, the down payment requirement while I'm paying rent is quite difficult to manage. Why do you think I know there is a demand and the market is in a positive note. And I also understand there's a cost to the developer to do a post-handover payment plan. But why do you think developers are so aggressive now? It's just because they are taking advantage of the market?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, if you looked like 5-6 years back, it was the opposite, right? So developers were offering post-payment plans.
Yeah.
And they were, when the market was not hot and it was cold, they were incentivizing all the brokers and the buyers to come, please come and sell our products, right? And they were offering, waiving the 4% DLD fees, offering post-payment plans. Now it's the flip side. Now they're offering 90-10, no incentives whatsoever. And even they're turning the brokers away. Yep. Right? We've got buyers, we've got checks, but we don't have the stock.
Yeah.
So developer has to pay. Great initiatives that the UAE did is, counteract the measures of the past to quickly solve solutions and make sure that everything is protected and safe. So one of the things is that the developer cannot launch a project without paying 100% for the land.
Yeah.
Right? So now already the developer is at cost.
Yeah.
And another thing is that you have to be backed by a bank and a guarantee to the land department for I think like 20% or something like that. So that's another heaviness. Now the developer wants to cash out.
Yep.
He wants to quickly. So some developers of course. So what they do, that's why sometimes you see delays, and what said is that you have to be careful and as an investor to choose the developer. Why? Because a developer would delay his development because he wants to sell 30% before he starts putting nail on the ground. So that's another delay. So he wants to cash. So that's why when they have the opportunity where the market is hyped and everybody's rushing to buy real estate, so they want to increase they make the payment plan very aggressive quickly so they can collect as much as possible, and then there's no issue now. I've collected most of my money, so I can build and I can make my profit quickly. I can build the contractors. Some developers as well don't have enough means and enough money, so they depend on the buyer's money to pay the contractor, which is also part of the UAE regulations. Is that how to regulate the escrow and the release of payment. So it's also very good what the UAE did. And what Dubai has done in RERA, it's actually remarkable. Other countries, they have issues until now from the recession time, and they've 100 years, countries, like very old countries, and they still couldn't solve these issues. So in a way, there's a great protection, and you can't. It's a hype, and developers will follow a hype because they can. Because everybody during a hype wants to get. It's an opportunity. Why not? When it's an opportunity, let's milk the cow, right? Yeah. That's how it says. That's the expression.
Yeah, but the tables always turn as well.
Yeah, it does. It does. Consistency is great. If you, as a developer, become consistent, people will always come back to you.
Do you believe in what Warren Buffett say? Buy when everyone sell and sell when everyone is buying. And if that's true, what do we do now?
The most important and the final question of our podcast
is
today.
Is that the final question?
It is the final question.
I do. To be honest with you, I strongly believe in that. I set up my company, Benincore, when the COVID happened. And I learned from my mistakes because I saw some of the biggest real estate companies being established in 2008, 2009, when the subprime hit the market. I believe right now the market is hot. Prices have gone up, I think, 100% over the last year. I think it's a... I would sell. I'm selling all my properties right now, to be honest. I'll wait for the market to go down, and then I will buy when there's blood on the streets, right?
We don't want to see blood.
We don't want to see it. I mean,
No blood, Ben, no blood.
I would say buy, always buy, never sell, because Warren Buffett himself is a tycoon because he
True.
buys and buys and
He
buys.
keeps
He buys
everything.
companies. He keeps buying companies.
Yeah.
He doesn't sell. He waits for the seller who is selling at the market where everybody's selling to buy them, but he doesn't go and sell as well at the same time unless he's really done like, you know, that crazy number. But I would buy always, and not only this market. I mean, there's the world is your oyster. There's a lot of other places that you can buy in, but here you make the profits that nobody else and nowhere else you can make.
but are you not selling your property?
So buy.
Exactly. Warren Buffett, right? You're selling to buy.
I'm selling because I can get now almost 50% more than I would have
Exactly.
gotten. No, 150% more than I would have gotten a few years back. But now I have properties. I want to buy 2 properties in Dubai
Okay.
and in Abu Dhabi, Ras Al Khaimah. Should I promote more of the UAE?
Amazing. Riad and Ben, thank you so much. That was
Thank you
such
for
a
having us.
lovely episode. We're so happy to have you here, and all the success on your ventures and your companies. And you're getting too famous now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
We'll
having
do a
us.
follow-up episode on properties outside the UAE.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you so
Thank you,
much.
Doctor. Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real Estate Majlis podcast. We hope you found this episode informative and insightful. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to us.